We're on. Okay. Are we on? Is this on? We're on. Hi, everyone. Wow, can you hear me? I can't tell if, okay. It's not pointing at me, so I can't hear myself, but this is beautiful, isn't it? Thank you all for coming out. My name's Elizabeth Cavalieri. I am Ro's political director, and we're so happy that you're here. We kicked off the Benefits Over Billionaires tour this morning in Bakersfield. We just came from Norco, and now we are so happy to be here with you in Anaheim. So, just off the top, I just want to say a huge thank you on behalf of myself and on behalf of Ro to our nearly 30 national and grassroots and frontline partner organizations. We truly couldn't have had the turnout here. We couldn't have had the organizing to put these events together, and we just are so grateful for all the work that you've done. So big round of applause for all our partners. And we're going to go ahead and kick things off shortly here. We're going to have a couple speakers who are really on the front lines of some of the benefit cuts and attacks that we've seen. But one housekeeping note before we get started. Right here, up in my left and my right, you can see two microphone stands. After our speakers, if you have a question, this is a town hall after all, we invite you to come queue up, form a line, and Ro is going to take questions for as long as he can. And we really appreciate you all being here again. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first speaker. We're so happy to be joined by in-home supportive services provider with United Domestic Workers. Do we have United Domestic Workers in the house? There we go. Okay. Everyone, please welcome Joel Hernandez.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joel Hernandez. I'm an IHSS caregiver for my mother-in-law, Emma, and a proud member of my union, UDW. I live here in Young Kim's district, and I was appalled when I learned that she voted to support cuts to Medicaid. I've heard her trying to defend this decision by saying that her vote only moves the ball forward on a budget as if it's some kind of a game. As if the fate of the health and well-being of our families are a ball to be moved around a field or something to be used as a political bargaining chip. This is personal. I think that what Young Kim and members of Congress voted to do is morally reprehensible. To even think about cutting health care funding for the most vulnerable people in the richest country in the world is despicable. And if all this is being done to benefit the 1% whose tax breaks are going to be paid for with our health care. Boo. Billionaires don't want to spend a dime on people who aren't creating a profit for them. And that's why Congress wants to cut funding that benefits the poor, sick, the elderly, and those living with a disability. That's not where billionaires' profits come from. So they see them as waste. We can see that Congress thinks that they are a ball to be moved around the court or numbers on a spreadsheet to be balanced. But we are here tonight, brothers and sisters and friends in Congress. We know differently. There are real people whose lives will be devastated by any cuts to Medicaid. People like Emma. If these cuts go through, she can be forced into a facility and understand care will be forced back into the workforce to pay for the care I was already providing. How does that make any sense? Doesn't. There are over 1 million residents in Orange County who depend on Medicaid. 150,000 of them live right here in Young Kim's district. These are seniors, veterans, people with disabilities, and hardworking families who just want to live with dignity. We're going to fight for every single one of them. Brothers and sisters, tonight and every day, we're going to fight to protect our communities from greedy billionaires and corrupt and cowardly politicians. To finish, I have one more question for you all. Where's young Kim? Where's young Kim? Where's young Kim? Thank you very much.
Everyone, give a big round of applause. Okay, next up, I'm so excited to welcome, with Disability Voices United, everyone please welcome William Del Rosario and his mother, Michelle.
Good evening. My name is William Del Rosario, and supporting me today is my mom, Michelle. I am a 24-year-old non-speaking adult learner and self-advocate with autism, living in Orange, California. I have autism and apraxia, and I am a multimodal communicator who uses augmentative and alternative communication, AAC, through typing and my iPad. While my learning and communication differences are an important part of who I am, they do not define me. As an adult working toward greater independence, I rely on crucial support systems. I am one of more than 150,000 people in this Congresswoman Kim's congressional district with a developmental disability, and I am here today because I need your help to protect Medicaid and prevent cuts to the services that support us. Let me explain how Medicaid impacts my life. When I was younger, Medicaid waiver programs through the regional center made it possible for me to receive therapeutic services such as applied behavior analysis, which greatly improved my quality of life at home and in the community. I rely on Medi-Cal to stay healthy and manage my complex medical needs, including epilepsy. Without Medi-Cal, I would not be able to afford the medications that have kept me seizure-free for the past 12 years. Currently, I live at home with my parents, who support me in all areas of my life. However, there may come a time when they are no longer able to do so, or when I am ready to move out. As we plan for my future, we are working with the regional center to design a person-centered plan that supports my goals. This includes onboarding and training staff to help me maintain my health, access communication, explore further education, seek employment, and build a meaningful life in the community through supported living. However, this plan is only possible with critical Medicaid waiver programs, such as regional center and in-home supportive services, IHSS, which fund the staff I will need. Without this funding, my quality of life will drastically decline. Instead of thriving as a valued member of our community, I will be left to silently exist. Can we count on your support to prevent cuts to Medicaid?
Wow, thank you all for showing up on a Sunday evening. I'm Michelle, as William said, I'm his mother. he went to school right over there in elementary school, so it kind of feels like home. And I love seeing this community who supported him then and supporting us now here. We are a family of 5 that grew up here. I grew up in Orange County. My kids grew up here in Orange County, went to school in Orange Unified School District as well. And we are members of Young Kim's constituency. Last summer, she held a resource fair with commitments to helping veterans, the seniors, disability, and we were there representing all of those demographics. During that resource fair, she spoke, and I don't recall her saying she intended to cut Medicaid. So I'm asking for your support as voters, as citizens. I shared this at another town hall we were at. We all have a very powerful voice, and I encourage you all to use it and let your beliefs be known to those that are voting on our behalf. Thank you all.
Everyone give it up again for William and Michelle. Next up, we have a woman who really doesn't need an introduction in the state of California. She's an organizer, she's the state director for Working Families Party California, and she's a dear friend to Roe and our entire team. Please welcome Jane Kim.
Thank you. Good evening, Anaheim. I just want to give a big shout out to labor that is in the audience tonight. I see ASME 3299 and SEIU 2015. When organized labor wins, we win. My name is Jane Kim. I'm the California Director of Working Families Party, and we are here to recruit you to elect people-powered candidates who represent all of us and not just the billionaire corporations. And we know that resisting Trump isn't enough because the issues facing our country today are not new. Long before Donald Trump walked into the Oval Office, our immigration system was in shambles. Long before he walked into the office, homelessness was a crisis on our streets, and mass evictions were being disproportionately carried out to the most vulnerable amongst us, our seniors, our single mothers, our immigrants, individuals with disabilities. And before he walked into that office, policies were literally assaulting the bodies of women, people of color, LGBTQ, and poor people every day. And here in California, long before Trump, we spent the last 40 years building 23 state prisons and only 1 UC and 3 CSUs. Determining the future of young Californians for generations. And in 1990, we used to cover 78% of a student's tuition at UC, 81% at CSU. Now it's only 37%. And over the last 40 years, 50% of this nation has seen their wages stagnate, while the top 1%'s income has tripled and the top 0.1% has gone up 20 times. Meanwhile, the cost of everything has gone up: healthcare, transportation, housing, food. And 60% of us here are living paycheck to paycheck. We have a lot of work to do. Even in the super blue state of California, most of our electeds take money from big oil, from big pharma, and realtors. So it's not just about resisting Trump, because it's not just the Republicans. Unfortunately, many of our Democrats have proven to be a partner of the elite and wealthy instead of a counterweight. But we can do better here in California by leading an agenda by the people and for the people. And I really believe here in California, we can pass tuition-free public college. We can pass Medicare for all. We can pass a Green New Deal. And in the richest country in the world, and the richest state, one job should be enough. Now, some of the wealthiest amongst us are spending billions of dollars. They're waging a war against our country to discredit government and vilify it. And we have to ask ourselves a question. Did the billionaires do this for the good of our country? Or do they do this to protect their bottom line? Because who benefits from a broken government? A broken government means less protection for everyday people and workers, less protections for clean air and clean water. And a broken government means lower taxes for billionaire corporations. Government may be dysfunctional, but our response should be to repair it, not discard it, not disregard it. Government is not a problem, it is a prize for all of us to win. In California, we represent 1 out of every 8 Americans. We're one of the wealthiest states, which means we have a responsibility here to pass a progressive agenda and show America what it's like to have a people-first agenda. And I know we can do it because we have a progressive electorate where in 2020, elected Bernie Sanders to be our Democratic nominee for president. I served as his political director. We came in first place in 47 out of 53 congressional districts, including the county that we are in today. So let's pass a working families agenda. We need more Bernie Sanders and AOC and Congressman Khannas running for school board, for city council, for state legislature. Join Working Families Party. Text us at 30403 to learn more about us. If you want to run for office, if you want to support candidates that will represent us and not just billionaire corporations. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Let's win for all of us. Thank you.
Give it up for Jane Kim. Okay. Last, before we welcome Ro to the stage, is another person who really needs no introduction. I just want to say that it was so helpful to our campaign to have someone so notable and so wonderful come out and share his time and his advocacy with us. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a filmmaker and an entrepreneur known for films such as 500 Days of Summer, Inception, Looper, Snowden, and Don John. He co-founded the 2-time Emmy-winning online community for creative collaboration, Hit Record, and he's just an advocate amongst advocates. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Hey, everybody. Louder, come on, come on! Yeah! That's what I'm here for. I'm really happy to be here in Anaheim. This is such a cool place to do this, here in this park. This reminds me exactly of the kind of park that I grew up playing baseball in. I grew up in LA. Is this okay that I'm wearing a Dodger shirt, or is it like Angels? Okay. You never know. If you're not down with the Dodgers, I was also an Angels in the outfield, so I get some Anaheim credit for that, I hope. It was a long-ass time ago. She's mad about the Dodgers shirt. Anaheim, I was just in Disneyland today. I took my family to Disneyland today, so I came here this evening, and I'm a father of 3. I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 2-year-old. How many parents are here? Yeah. You know that feeling when you watch your kid eat? Do you know the feeling I'm talking about? It starts when they're a baby, and you're just so tired and happy that they're eating something. But it kind of, for me, it never went away, even though my kids are older now. There's a deep down feeling of profound satisfaction and dare I say, joy when I see my kids just eat. I felt it today when we were having lunch. I feel it all the time. I don't know if you heard him. My son just called out to me, "Stop saying such weird stuff." Okay, dude, I will. One of the things I like to do when my kids eat is talk about how lucky it is to get to eat. We talk about, especially all over the world, there are so many kids who don't get to eat every day. And how hard would that be if you didn't get to eat every day? I am extremely, extremely lucky. I've never had to go through that. I've never had to have one of my kids tell me they're hungry and then say, "I'm sorry, I don't have anything to give you right now." I imagine it all the time, but I've never had to go through it. 1 in 5 kids, I just read. 1 in 5 kids, not in some other part of the world. 1 in 5 kids in the United States benefits from food assistance programs from the federal government. That means that for 1 in 5 kids, there's a parent there, or a couple of them, who have to have that experience of their kid saying, "Hey, I'm hungry," and them feeling nervous. That's why they call it food insecurity, right? Feeling nervous, like, do I have food to give to my kid? I can't get my head around what's on someone's mind that sees the reality that 1 in 5 kids is benefiting from a food assistance program because they need it, and saying, "We don't have the budget for that." I think it's probably better that these 1 in 5 kids can't eat. No, you know what we should spend that money on instead? We should cut taxes for the very wealthiest people in this country. That's what we should do instead. I can't get my head around that. Can you? Can you? As a parent, it makes me so mad. And I'm not even going through it. Then I hear, okay, 1 in 5 kids are benefiting from these food assistance programs. 2 in 5 kids benefit from Medicaid, from the federal government helping to pay for healthcare and medicine. Have you ever taken your kid to the doctor? Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, my kid is sick, my kid needs something from the doctor? Oh, I can't pay for it? I'm here admitting that I'm privileged and lucky that I haven't had to have that experience. But when I think of going through it, it doesn't make sense to me. And again, I can't get my head around this idea like, oh yeah, 2 in 5 kids in the country who need help. Nah, forget about them. We shouldn't be spending money on them. We shouldn't be helping them. You know what we should do instead? Cut taxes for the richest people in the country? Boo, thank you. I don't get it. So, that feeling of anger that I have, and sadness, and the need to feel, I feel I can't just sit and let that happen. I can't be a parent of good conscience and see my kids every day eat, and take my kids to the doctor when they need it, and enjoy those privileges and feel okay about my fellow citizens not having that opportunity. I can't do it, and that's why I'm standing here today. You know, this is the first time, thanks. This is the first time I've ever actually done anything like this. I've never spoken at a political rally before. We have to do something. We have to do something. Who's gonna do that? Who's gonna do that? Thank you. I heard you guys saying we are. So, To do that, it's going to take all of us. Yeah, there are some great lawmakers here under the Democratic Party. We mentioned Bernie Sanders. I voted for Bernie in the primary in 2016. We mentioned AOC, and we mentioned Khanna, who I'm here to introduce you to tonight. But I'm sure they'll tell you the same. It's not them that can do it alone. It's you guys here. And I think it's awesome that we're here early. We're here in the spring of 2025 to talk about winning back the House in 2026. Good. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take all of us here to do this. So here's my job before we bring out Ro. My job is to bring that energy that we're going to need. We're going to need a lot of energy. It's going to be a lot of work. It's an uphill battle. Let's be real honest. There are, I didn't tell anyone I was going to say this. There are parts of the Democratic Party that really just blew it really hard for us. And that's going to make it harder for us to win back that House in 2026. But we can do it. It seems to me like we can. Yeah, yes we can. I didn't mean it that way, but yeah, yes we can. Sí se puede. But if it's going to happen, it's going to be because crowds like this, people like this, and not just you as a crowd, but each and every one of you gets to work. Doesn't just come to this rally, but then goes home and figures out, what am I going to do? What am I going to do between now and 2026 when it's time to get out the vote and it's time to win back the House? What am I going to do? All right, so what I find when I'm trying to find that motivation to go do hard work is I need other people. I need other people's energy to motivate me, to get me going. So, hey, look, conveniently, we're all here together. Let's motivate each other. And how are we going to do that? We're going to get really loud right now. All right? Come on. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take my hand. When it's down here, this is little. This is ooh. Okay? Then when I come up, oh, okay. Oh. We're going to get loud. We're going to motivate each other. Ready? Come on. Ready? All of Anaheim's going to hear this right now. Come on. Let's hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Khanna! Keep it going, come on!
Wow. What a turnout. Give yourselves a round of applause, Anaheim. Wasn't Joseph Gordon-Levitt a natural, huh? I don't think that's his first rally. That's amazing. Look, he was with his kids. He had a lot of commitments. He said, I want to be in the fight with all of us. Let's give him a round of applause. I'm such an admirer of Jane Kim. She has been fighting for working families in the middle class before it became cool to stand up for working families in the middle class. Thank you, Jane Kim, for your leadership. And I was so impressed by William. What a courageous young man, and Michelle, his mother, thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. That takes a lot of courage. Not easy to speak to 1,000 people. And Joel, where did Joel go? Joel, thank you for standing up for home care workers and for what you do every day. You know, I'm so amazed you're here in the dark. But you know what they say, it's always darkest before the dawn. I got to give you the prize. I mean, I've been here going all over the state. We thought we'd get 100 people, 200 people. We had 1,000 people in Bakersfield, 1,100 people in Norco, over 1,000 people in Anaheim. In the dark, at night. And you know what? I said, why are people coming to just see a congressman at night? It's because you don't get to see your own member of Congress. I mean, look, I'm from Silicon Valley and we do a lot of things virtually, but you deserve more than virtual representation. You deserve a congressperson, young Kim, who's going to show up. In America, you don't get to hide from people. Leaders don't get to hide from people. We work for you, not the other way around. Young Kim, you got 1,000 people in your district who you're not talking to. Have a sense of shame. You got a member of Congress from the north coming up to talk to your constituents. Come out here next weekend and talk to the people you represent. But you know, it's not politics. I want young Kim to change her vote. I don't want these cuts. I mean, it's so cruel. I was talking to some of the disability advocates and folks with disability. And one person, he's getting a PhD. I was so proud of him. And he said to me, just today, just right now, he said, I don't understand it. I don't understand why in America we are giving tax breaks to billionaires and the wealthy people in my district in Silicon Valley and taking away health care from the people who need it most. What? I really don't understand it. What faith teaches that? What philosophical principle of our country teaches that? See, I got into politics because of my grandfather. He had spent 4 years in jail in Gandhi's independence movement in the 1940s in India. And Gandhi used to say that a nation's greatness is measured by how we treat those most in need. And that's universal. That's Matthew 25. I say to you, you will be judged by how you treat those who are most in need. That is our teaching. And yet, we have representatives that are voting to cut $880 billion. $880 billion from Medicaid to fund more tax breaks for the richest Americans. And what does that mean? It's real people. Someone gave me a hug. She was so emotional because this is health care for seniors who may be in long-term care because Medicare doesn't cover long-term care. This is the ability for people on disabilities to get health care. And they're cutting the education department. I mean, think about that. Think about that. We're producing more wealth than we ever have in this country's history, and yet it's just simple cruelty that we're taking away health care and education from our citizens. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to fight. We're going to fight, but we're going to win. And I'll tell you why we're going to win. Someone said, Ro, are you still hopeful? Are you still hopeful in this country? And I said, after seeing this last week and people turning out in thousands for Bernie Sanders, 34,000 in Colorado, seeing people in this state turning out in thousands, I'll tell you something, seeing the anger and the care of ordinary Americans gives more hope than I've ever had. Elon Musk and Donald Trump have awakened a giant. American citizens now are fighting for our government. Since Ronald Reagan, since the 1980s, they told us government is the problem. Well, guess what? People now have figured out government isn't the problem. Government is there to protect American citizens. Government is what provides public schools. Government is what provides Social Security. Government is what provides Medicaid. Government is what provides Medicare. Government is what provides the ambulance service and funds our firefighters and our police. I'm sick and tired of billionaires lecturing us about government being the problem. My friends as citizens, it's time we stand up for government and understand that government is there to represent citizens and the people. They don't know what they've awakened in this country. It's not the billionaires who won us the revolution. It's not the multimillionaires or billionaires that won the Civil War and secured the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. It's not the millionaires and billionaires who fought and scaled the cliffs on Normandy to win World War II. And it was not the millionaires or billionaires who were beaten on Edmund Pettus Bridge to secure civil rights. It is not the millionaires and billionaires who built America. It is the citizens of this country who built America, and it is the citizens of this country that are going to take America back. My friends, I want to hear tonight from you, because that's the job of a congressperson. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear your questions, and I'm going to try to take your voice back to Washington until you get a new member of Congress. And I know, I'll tell you something, before we start the question, I'll tell you something. When I started running for Congress, I had 50 people at most showing up. I had to beg people to turn out. With 1,000 people, you can elect anyone to this district. We just need to start organizing from tomorrow, knocking on doors, calling, and taking back this district. With that, why don't folks line up, because I want to hear from you. I want to hear your questions, your stories, your voices, and we'll try to get to as many questions. I got to fly back on a red eye to D.C., but we're going to get as many questions as we possibly can. Thank you, Anaheim.
We're going to start off with Robert over here.
Thank you, Ro.
Thank you.
I wrote down a question here I want to ask you. I'm hearing the Trump administration's refusal to respect the decisions of the courts is bringing us to the edge of a constitutional crisis. When it crosses that line, what will you do and what do we need to do? Because I'm afraid we can't wait till 2026.
I agree.
When he consolidates all the power, what's going to happen?
Well, first, I am so disappointed by the capitulation of a law firm, Paul Weiss, where they're making $6 million a year as partner per profits, and they couldn't stand up for their own First Amendment and stand up to Donald Trump because they were concerned about their own corporate profits. How about we put principle over profits in this country and start standing up for the Constitution? You know, our Vice President, J.D. Vance, by the way, the most unpopular Vice President in the history of the country. That's the polling. You know what he said? He told Donald Trump, when the Supreme Court rules, I want you to tell the Supreme Court you made your ruling, now try to enforce it. No president has tried to defy the Supreme Court since Andrew Jackson. And J.D. Vance is telling Donald Trump to defy the Supreme Court. I don't care whether you're a Democrat, a libertarian, an independent, a Republican, a Green Party person, you should believe in the rule of law and respecting the Supreme Court. That is the fundamental fact of American democracy. So we need to start speaking out now, not just about the economy, not just about the price of eggs and the price of gas going up. We need to speak out when due process is violated of a Columbia student and they're going to be deported without any hearings. We need to speak out when there is an abuse and people are said that they're Venezuelan gang members. I'm for deporting people who are convicted, but not before they have due process to find out if they're actually in the gang. We need to start to speak out for due process of the law and not be so afraid of our shadows. Because I'll tell you what, as someone born in Philadelphia in 1976 in our bicentenary, the love of the Constitution is in America's DNA. We will not lose. We will be strong if we speak out for that. And we need to be very clear. If they defy the Supreme Court, we will move instantaneously to impeachment and to march on the streets of Washington.
Hi, Congressman. Thank you for coming down here. I really appreciate it. You gave us a voice, and I don't think we would have had it otherwise. And my concern and my question is along the lines of what you were talking about and what the gentleman before asked. What is the line when the Democrats can jump up and say, no, stop it now? Because Musk almost got plans for a war to China. I mean, I'm scared, and everyone I know is scared, and I've been stressed out for 10 years. And so I just imagine we are the party of law and rules, but how long are you going to follow protocol before, I just envision us saying, you're following protocol, and then we lose all our freedom, and then someone throws their hands up and go, well, we were in the minority. There was nothing we could do about it.
No, I hear you. I agree. I'm basically, you're being very polite, but you're saying we need all of you in Washington to fight harder and fight more. Okay. I was very, very disappointed. I'm just going to be blunt. And Chuck Schumer, the old guard. The old guard needs to step aside. Not saying he wasn't a good legislator, but if you don't have the sense of urgency, if you don't have the sense of standing up to Donald Trump and Elon Musk, then you're not doing what you need to do for leadership at this moment. We need to be very, very clear. We need to do more than speeches, more than voting. We need to be organizing, and every member of Congress, Senator, I hope, will be out there in communities, organizing folks, so that we can actually get people to flip their votes. We need to be out in marches. We need to be out in the community. We need to make sure that we're not giving Republicans votes when they need our votes to do their agenda. And
vote.
We've got to be doing whatever we can in activism, in marches, in non-collaboration to call them out. And here's the good news. The good news is that this week, for the first time, there has been a decline in a lot of Trump's numbers, and a lot of the people are waking up. They are seeing that they voted for Donald Trump because they wanted a secure border and lower prices, not because they wanted him to take away their health care and their education and give tax breaks to the very wealthy. So here's my ask of all of you today of what we can do. One of the things you can all do is find someone. I know you know someone in your life in this community who's a Republican, and text them, email them, tell them what's going on, because we're not getting through with all the information. Tell them the cuts they're making, $880 billion in Medicaid and the cuts in education. And I, for my part, will tell my colleagues in Washington that we got to fight harder. Thank you.
I just have one follow-up. Is there a plan for if it gets to that dire place that it's either lose democracy or take it back? Is there a plan? Is there something you can do? I'm sick of hearing politicians say, we're in the minority, we don't have the Congress, we don't have the Senate.
But we can. We should have not voted for the continuing resolution so that we could have negotiated for concessions. What we could do with the debt ceiling vote, with it just coming up, and the budget vote, is to convince every Democratic senator and every Democratic House member to vote no and force Donald Trump to the negotiating table to put a stop to this. And that is where we do have leverage. Schumer gave up our leverage.
Okay.
My name is Milena, and I am a teacher locally here. I teach at community college.
Thank
I
you.
teach adults. And my students are English as a second language students, and they are immigrants. And I'm from a family of immigrants where my grandfather was jailed, much like your father, for, being political.
Yeah.
And I have students, I have neighbors that are afraid to leave their homes. We have people being swept up off the streets, taken to prisons in Central America that are torture mills, and I feel like nobody is doing anything. We've got 40% Latinos here in California, and that's just the Latino immigrants. And there are people being swept up off of our streets. A Colombian couple from Laguna Niguel or Laguna Beach was deported to Colombia, and I want to know, where are the Democrats fighting for us? Where are the Democrats saying, let's march about this? We can't just let people get taken up off the streets because it might be an immigrant today. We have tourists that are being harassed, and it could be citizens tomorrow. I'm a social media activist, and I worry about my future. Am I going to be swept up off of the streets, and who is going to stand up for me?
I totally agree with you. Thank you for speaking up. Maybe because I'm a son of immigrants, I felt so passionately that the Democrats should not have given votes for that awful Laken-Riley Act that basically allows for deportation without due process. I mean, that is what that Laken-Riley Act was all about. And we need to have the courage in this country to speak up for the Constitution, to speak up for saying you can't just take someone in America who's living here and suppress their speech or kick them out without giving them a hearing, without having them go through a process. That's what's going on. But there are too many Democrats afraid to speak about it because they're afraid to speak up for immigration. Let me tell you what's going to cost the Democratic Party elections is that we don't have the courage to stand up for our convictions. We need to start standing up and speaking for our convictions.
Can I just say one last thing?
Yeah.
There is an election not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, and we need volunteers to call for the 2 Democrats that are running for the House in Florida and for the Wisconsin State Supreme Court. And I hope that you guys will look that up and volunteer, joshwheel.us and gayforcongress.com.
Thank you. 2 people running in Florida for Congress and the Wisconsin Supreme Court. We absolutely need that. Thank you.
Fred, and the question for you is, what is it going to take to stop the division between the entire country as it is, and in particular in Congress between the Democrats and Republicans? They stand as one unit, one entity, elected by the people of this country. Why can't each an individual, every one of you, stand up and convince your colleagues in terms of voting correctly for the people, for what they stand and why they are there as representatives of the population?
I love your sentiment, sir, to bring this country together, to figure out how, regardless of party, we can put the nation first and heal some of the wounds and divisions. And I don't want to be partisan about it, sir, but we need, as a baseline, people to stand up for the Constitution before we're going to have an ability to talk to people and work together.
Well, that's the point again between the elected officials. You stand for the Constitution. You're there as a prerogative and as an important factor of what you're doing, duty to the Constitution, duty to the people who elected you. Therefore, us as population can do a lot. In fact, I was thinking, as a country, this is going to take a lot, but it has been seen in other countries of the world where there's been injustice by government and how many people parade and march on. It would be very interesting to see this country, an entire population, march on Washington on a dedicated time.
I love that. Yeah, no, I love that. Look, we need people to do the basics. I can argue with other Republicans about tax policy, and I'm happy to argue and debate in good faith policies on national security or policies on regulation. But what I can't argue with is if they are willfully blind to Donald Trump and Elon Musk trampling over our Constitution. What I can't argue with is if they're not showing up to doing town halls and meeting citizens. These are the basics. These are the basic need. And once we have that, I do believe that there's been a large part of this country that has had economic stagnation. We've seen manufacturing jobs leave, the offshoring of industry. We've seen wages stagnate. People have too much cost for health care, for child care, for education. Wealth has piled up in districts like mine in Silicon Valley. We need a new economic patriotism agenda that builds new industry, builds new jobs in communities across America, that provides health care as a guarantee for every American with Medicare for all, that provides child care for every American, provides housing, and I think that can bring this country together. But we've got to first stop. Before we can have an agenda that brings us together, we've got to stop people who are trampling and dishonoring the Constitution that so many people have given their lives for.
Hello, my name is Laura. I have a couple of part questions. First of all, I want to remind people, the average salary in Anaheim for a family, for a worker, is less than $40,000 a year. The biggest employers are United Healthcare, Kaiser Permanente, Disneyland. God forbid they get hit with DEI over there, but hey, my question to you is, Elon Musk, we all know, got subsidies. Does he currently get subsidies? How do we stop him from getting subsidies? Because you all should look at your pensions. Your union should be looking at your pensions. You should be looking at how your city of Santa Clara invests. Can you divest from the Tesla organization? Can you take it to their pocketbooks? And you should all be aware, it's very difficult to know if you're investing if you're in a 401k, but you have a city of, Intel's a huge employer there. They got money from the CHIPS Act. Is the CHIPS Act protected? Is Trump going to try to destroy some of the CHIPS Act like he has verbally threatened? So talk about money. Is Intel worried that they're going to take money away? They're building, plants in Arizona and plants in Ohio. Have they spoken to you about that? Would they have layoffs there in your county? Can you check to see if Elon Musk can stop with, because basically, if you guys don't know, Tesla has the self-driving software. That same software is being used in the robots Optimus, and basically people are funding their own obsolescence. You need to figure that out.
Well, I think that what we need, I appreciate very much the question. First of all, we need to understand that President Obama provided the funding for Tesla to get off the ground. And President Obama provided the contracts at SpaceX for SpaceX to get off the ground. Okay. So it's all of us, the taxpayers, that have supported these companies. And what we need to recognize in the CHIPS Act, that I helped co-author with, and President signed it, and now Donald Trump, so much for bringing manufacturing back, he's gutting all of it, gutting all of it. And the reality is that his vision is, let's have a few billionaires cut deals to bring back investment into America. And that's going to be fine for the billionaires and the wealthy. But what it's not going to do is create jobs in places like Anaheim for high-paying jobs in manufacturing and in industry. What we need to do is make sure that there are no conflicts of interest in DOGE. We need to make sure that we are speaking out so that people aren't making decisions in DOGE about contracts that are impacting their companies, and there needs to be financial disclosure. But finally, people are standing up, and we are voting and calling for Elon Musk to come to Congress and explain what he's doing and holding him accountable.
Are you going to be able to do that?
We're working hard to do it, and with these kind of turnouts, it's going to put pressure on Republicans to be able to do it.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Amanda, and my question, well, in essence, it's, are you guys talking to the representatives on the other side of the aisle? Because we have the people, we have the numbers, but they have the legislative majorities, and the legislature, like it or not, has the simplest mechanisms to provide checks and stop a lot of this. We need a revolution, but I don't know about you, I don't want a war, and we can't wait for 2026 because we do not know that we can count on free and fair elections by that time if something isn't done now. So the legislative branch needs to do its job, and at least at the national level, the Democrats cannot do that without Republican help. So how are you pursuing Republican help? I mean, I'm guessing that you and Young Kim probably have in common that we don't want to be disappearing people off the streets. So,
well, I think there are a lot of Republicans. I think there are a lot of Republicans who, in private, will say that they don't want disappearances off the street, but they're not willing to defy Donald Trump publicly. That's been the problem. It is there.
So
it is
how
fair.
are you all talking
now,
them into it?
There's finally one Republican in Utah who said, I think that there's been some slide into authoritarianism. I said, well, there's progress. We've got one. We need three. One of the ways we're doing it is coming into their districts and talking with their constituents so that they know that people are paying attention. But look, I'm not here to try to defeat young Kim in 2026. I'm here to awaken young Kim's conscience so she stops voting for the Medicaid cuts and so she starts speaking up for constitutional democracy. And the way I have an open door with any Republican, whether it's young Kim or Valdeo, I never use profanity. I'm always civil. My call to them is to stand up as patriots for the basic values of this country. That's why I'm here. I'd meet with her tomorrow if she was willing to say that she's not going to cut these Medicaid funds for so many families, and if she's fundamentally willing to stand up for the Constitution. Many of us are trying, but it's going to take a lot of people in these districts to stand up as well.
Hi, my name's Ken. I'm glad you showed up. I want to kind of be like the lady right over there. She wanted to kind of get to the bottom line. I think if we have a commercial, after the last few days, it was the Commerce Secretary that said if Grandma and the people, they don't mind missing their damn checks. Well, God damn it, I do. I'm sorry.
I think you're absolutely right.
I think we take a commercial and we gear it towards there's $70 million on Social Security, correct?
Yeah.
And I don't know how much that was with the VA, but I'm thinking we're talking 100 million people here. Why can't the damn leaders of the party run some commercials, gear it towards the Republicans, ask if they want the damn cuts to keep coming, and if they want to lose their checks and their Medicare, and have them call the representatives with 800 numbers. We need to go for it now. We're over there waiting for 26. Screw that. Do it now. Because I'm tired of mad at just, I don't know who the party leaders are, but Schumer screwed up.
I totally agree with you. That's why I'm here. Look, Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, he's a billionaire. He said with a straight face, he said, if my mother-in-law, who's 94, doesn't get a Social Security check for a month, she's not going to create a big fuss about it. She'll know it's going to come. Maybe Howard Lutnick's mother-in-law doesn't need it, but most seniors need those checks to be able to pay their rent and to afford their mortgage and to afford their daily expenses. So I agree with you. Let's put that ad up in districts like this. People to say, do you agree with the cuts on Social Security, the cuts on Medicaid, the cuts on Medicare that the Republicans are about? I will take that.
How about nationwide? There's 100 million people being affected by this.
Yeah, and we should do it in these districts where we need Republicans to speak up.
In the last part of the commercials, put an 800 number down if they're sick and tired of it to call the damn congressman or something.
Love it.
We can't go to the fight with a butter knife no more. That doesn't work.
Thank you.
Hi, Congressman. Thank you so much for coming to the district.
Thank you.
My name is Christian Suazo. I am a community college student. I go to Saddleback College, which is in the southern part of this district. I'm actually the Associated Student Government President there, so thank you so much for taking my question.
Love to have young people here. Thank you.
As you and everyone here may know, that the New York Times reported that the Department of Education fired 1,300 workers, which it puts in jeopardy federal student aid. At Saddleback College, it's safe to say that we have 3,000 students who rely on Pell Grants and federal student aid, which is roughly 11% of our student population. How do we safeguard federal student aid and Pell Grants in the age of DOGE, and how do we make college more affordable for students who want to transfer to a four-year university?
Thank you for speaking out. We need young people like you. I took out so many loans to go to college. I have a simple view. We should have free public college in America. We can afford it. But right now, in the more immediate, we need to prevent the cuts. I was on CNN this morning. The Secretary of Education was saying, we're not cutting any of the funding. We're just reallocating it, and it's going to go out from the SBA. I said, CNN, there are 92 teachers in my district who have pink slips at Head Start. They are cutting the funding. That is, they're just lying about that. So what we need to do is to speak out about these cuts and take them to court on the unconstitutionality of it. This is why we should not have passed that budget for the funding, because we should have demanded no cuts as a condition to passing the budget. Now we need to demand it when we have the debt ceiling to make sure that we're protecting the students and these programs from these cuts. And we need to put pressure on people like Young Kim. Look, there are people like Young Kim who quote unquote said that they were moderates, who said that they were not going to go along with Medicaid cuts and education cuts. We need to put them on notice. Why are you not raising your voice while Donald Trump guts Medicaid, while you vote to cut Medicaid, and while he guts and destroys the Department of Education?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. My name is Liz. I'm 83 years old.
Wow, thank you.
I vote in every election.
I love it.
I demonstrate every...
You got Bernie's energy, both of you.
Okay, I demonstrate every week. I write letters. I write postcards. I, do emails. And
Thank
you know
you.
what? It doesn't do a damn bit of good. And so, anyhow, I am here with my friends. We all feel the same way. And what we want to say is,
Yes.
we're doing our part. We really are. We want the Democrats to do their part. And you've heard it not just from me, you're hearing it from all of them. We want something united. We want some action. We will support you, but by God, give us something to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. You're speaking out. You're speaking out is making a difference. One of the things I've heard from Bakersfield to Norco to today in Anaheim is people want marching orders. They want a plan. They want to know, what can they do? What are we asking them to do? And I'm going to go back and talk to our leaders and talk to the leader at the DNC and say, we need to ask people, just like we ask in an election, to mobilize. We need to say, here is where we're going to put up ads. Here is where we're going to do phone banking. Here is where we're going to need postcards written. Here is where we're going to need organizing. So here is where we're going to have marches, so that we have a unified effort with the millions of people who are being mobilized to stop what's going on. We don't have a clear plan. We need a clear plan.
My name is Dilip. I am from India.
Wonderful.
Okay. So what that lady was saying, that we are doing our part, as you said, we are doing everything. We have energy, but people are asking what you guys are going to do. And my answer is that you have very limited options in Congress. You cannot do much because you are in minority. But so what? I'm not asking you a question. I'm giving you an advice.
So my parents.
So at least, yeah, I know you are fighting. You are doing your best, but also don't call Donald Trump Mr. President. Call him enemy of the people, enemy of America, and don't try to go high. But we are not saying that we should go low, but at least we should call him out and name call him and call him criminal, call him racist, call him rapist, and do that. So one side effect will be you will be noticed on Fox News.
I understand. Look, I understand the anger, and I was out there for Kamala Harris all over the country, and we made the case that he was indicted, that he was a criminal with a 35 counts. You know what is changing people's minds finally? It's that he's now going after their health care, that he's going after their education. And what we need to do, in my view, this is just my view, people may disagree, I don't think that we should go to some person who voted for Donald Trump with anger or insult. I think we go to them as fellow citizens and we say, look, we understand you were upset. We understand prices were high. We understand your economic condition wasn't great. And you voted for change. And look what Donald Trump has done. He's sold you out. He didn't care about you. He gave power to the billionaires and Elon Musk, and they're taking away your health care, and they're taking away your education, and this is why we need you to join our movement. My friends, politics is a politics of addition. We need to win over the people in this district who voted for Donald Trump, and we can.
And that's what we are going to do, but you also do that same thing that I suggested. Call him.
Thank you for coming. I've got a question, but I'll get to the question at the end. My name's Bob. I'm from Irvine. I'm a CPA. I retired now a year and a half ago. 50-year career in public accounting. My specialty was investigating questionable numbers. Okay. And a couple things. Just last week, I believe it was, Elon Musk said that the Democrats have open borders and lure people here by giving them Social Security as if they get Social Security when they arrive. You have to work for 40 quarters, 10 years before you get a dime.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's stupid. The snot-nosed punks that he has working as auditors, I don't know if, for anybody that hasn't heard this, they're getting paid at the GS-15 pay scale, which is the highest government pay scale. It's equivalent to an admiral or a general. They're getting $80 or $75 to $85 an hour, okay? And so these young punks that don't know what they're doing, one of their findings a few weeks ago was that there were 3.2 million kids under the age of 12 that had small business administration loans. They got this from the Social Security records. Precisely. There's survivor benefits for kids who lost a parent.
Right.
Which I got when I was a kid. My dad died when I was 11. So the coding that was used was SBA, was sort of like student benefit allowance or something. So they said, oh, there's 3.2 million kids that have loans from the SBA.
Right.
They don't know what they're doing. Okay. My question for you is, since these guys are getting paid $155,000 to $190,000 a year.
Yeah.
And we don't know how they're getting paid. Who's paying them? Is there any intention on asking for an accounting? Who's paying them? How they're getting paid? How much have they been paid so far?
Yes, the reality is they've put out misinformation and information. I mean, they claim the president stood up there, Trump stood up there on the State of the Union and said 20 million people are getting Social Security checks who are over the age of 100. Blatant lie. Blatant lie. They lied about people getting small business loans when really what was going on is they were getting survivor benefits, as you shared that you got when you were a kid and you lost your parent. And the reality is we don't know. We don't know who's paying them and how it's getting paid because the Congress, the oversight chair, refuses to call in Elon Musk and get the information. And this is why Democrats have said, do not vote. Do not vote. Do not give a single vote to the Republicans until they agree for accountability for Elon Musk and Doge. That's the only leverage we have. And I think after seeing the type of turnouts we're seeing around the country, something tells me some of those senators are going to have second thoughts about selling out again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Gary. I'm from Lake Forest. I'll point out that there's way more than Anaheim in Young Kim's district.
I appreciate it.
All the way from Chino Hills down to Mission Viejo. The other thing I want to say is the young lady that was here about 3 before me.
Yes.
That's my daughter.
Wow.
I'm so friggin' proud of her.
Father and daughter.
I didn't even
Love
realize
it.
she was in line
Love
ahead of me. So, but my first question is, where's young Kim? All right. So what I really wanted to get to is my wife and I, we did everything we were supposed to do. We invested in our 401ks.
Yeah.
And I am now 75, a year older than Chuck Schumer. And Chuck Schumer, it's time for you to go. I'll take your place if you want. Then about 17 years ago, we had what I call the W Depression. We lost half our retirement savings because we had it all in the stock market. And so now our retirement is not exactly, we're not living real extravagantly. And then I hear Howard Lutnick. Somebody needs to just throw that guy in jail. After trial, of course. But the point is, I could use the money, and I have heard that we are all paid protesters. So I want to ask, is anyone here being paid? Okay, I just wanted to find out, because if they were, I wanted to know where I could go to sign up. Okay, that was all I had to say.
Thank you. Well, look, I love your spirit, and I feel for you, because you worked hard your whole life, you paid into Social Security, and now this Trump administration, by cutting the government funding, by firing veterans, by laying off contractors, and by having one tariff policy one day and another one the other day, has basically caused this economy to slow down and the markets to go down dramatically. I mean, he's messing up the economy. It's not just that he's hurting working folks and middle class folks. He's hurting people like you. He's betraying people like you.
And I worked till I was 74 years old, and I was not planning on doing that.
Well, I appreciate it, and you deserve better from your country, sir.
Hi, my name's Andy. I'm from Orange. I'm a mother of a 2-year-old who was born at 23 weeks gestation. I've had to go through the Social Security office. We've applied for Medicaid for him. He qualifies for an HCBA waiver that provides our in-home care now. He's fed by a G2. He's 2 now, so he's an amazing miracle. But all of these things are funded by the government. And now we're entering in the transition phase from the regional center to the Department of, to schooling. So now he's at risk of not only losing his health care and whatever, because young Kim is gaslighting us, but also Department of Education is now being run by Captain Brainworms. So where's the protection for special education, the 504 plans, which are at risk across this country? And if we lose in-home care, I can't find just a run-of-the-mill babysitter. First of all, that will price us out of the market, and second of all, like, we need my income and my husband's income to live here. But also, he can't get into schools because he needs nursing care at school, in preschool, in Head Start. All of these programs we're potentially about to lose. So first, are you going to share our stories across the aisle to let them know? I've called every day when I'm driving to work. I've been hung up on a couple of times. I'm here. We're doing our part. So will you be reaching across the aisle, sharing our stories? I couldn't bring Gavin because it's too late. But I would, what are you going to do to help families like ours? We're in the midst of it. We've got a million services. My son was in the hospital 2 weeks ago. Like, we need you guys. You work for us. We need you. So how are you going to help?
Well, first let me just say, Gavin is really lucky to have a mom like you and an advocate like you. And he's going to realize that. And this is when I think that politics isn't a game. It's real people. It's real issues that people are struggling with. You're doing every possible thing, you and your husband, for your kid, so he can have a decent life, get some education, and you're not being able to get even a hearing from young Kim. I'll tell you what, because they're recording this, I'll make sure that I send this to young Kim. Not, just so she knows. And maybe she can meet with you, or someone on her team can meet with you. But the reality is, my mom was a substitute teacher's assistant for special needs. I know the need for funding public education for IEPs. And the federal government, frankly, doesn't fund it enough. We only fund 15% when we should be funding 40%. And now for this secretary to be cutting it and cutting Medicaid, I mean, the reality is these folks, many of them, they've got millions and billions of dollars. And I don't begrudge them their wealth. There's some people who got billions of dollars like FDR and have empathy. And there are other folks who are out of touch. And the reality is they need to spend time to understand what life is like if you don't have a lot of wealth, what people like you have to deal with day in and day out. And they've got to understand the enormous responsibility that they have to this country. I'm going to share your story with everyone I can, and I just appreciate your speaking up. And you have my commitment and the commitment of many of the Democrats in Congress to fight and do whatever we can to make sure these things don't get cut.
My name is Michelle Fox-Malash, and I'm from Orange. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I'm also a legislative delegate for the California Speech Language Hearing Association. I'm here for them. I am here for my precious patients that I treat every single day. And I'm here for my brothers who are my heart and my soul. I am going to follow up from that wonderful woman that just spoke. God bless you. I work with those kinds of children. And I know there are many issues that we could talk about, but like I said to you earlier, thank you for speaking with me. I want to know, what are you guys going to do to save Medicaid? Because right now, the doctor who sees all of these people in Orange County just ended his contract because he cannot survive. What can you guys do for us? So I and many of us here are the voices for the voiceless. You guys need to be our voice because I don't know anything about politics. I've never done anything like this in my life. I'm kind of embarrassed, but I am just taking 20 seconds of courage to speak up for these people. So I want to know, yes, we are doing our part. We are all here, but what can you guys do today, tomorrow, the next day, for us, for these people, so they don't lose their benefits, so that woman can get health care for her precious son?
Well,
thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for speaking up. That's what it's going to take in this country, for people like you who may not have been involved before to come and share your stories and to speak up so that this country realizes what's going on. The reality is every Democrat but one in the House voted against these cuts. And what we need to do is flip 4 people, 1 Democrat and 3 Republicans, before August so that these cuts don't go into effect. They voted right now for a preliminary budget. It's going to take, stopping them is going to take flipping 3 Republicans. And there are a lot of districts where the Republicans have many, many constituents like you that depend on Medicaid. In fact, the people who are most dependent on Medicaid, voters making under 100,000, Donald Trump won those voters. So it's his voters that people who voted for him that are going to suffer the most. And what we need to do, what I'm going to do, is go and make the case in as many of these districts to try to convince 3 of my colleagues not to vote for these cuts. That is what is at stake.
And also, to add to that, just so you guys know, between the ages of birth and 3 years old is the most crucial time for development. If we cut Head Start, if we cut regional center services, we are going to end up with a massive problem when these kids get to school. So please keep fighting for us.
It makes absolutely no sense. Donald Trump wants to build American power in the 21st century by trying to conquer Panama and Canada, as opposed to investing in our young people.
But what can you do, Mr. Khanna? What are you going to do for us? What can you do?
What we can do is vote against it and try to mobilize in Republican districts. We don't have the majority. We have to figure out how we get 3 Republicans to vote no to stop these cuts.
Hi, I'm Stephen Hinkle. I'm a disability rights advocate and international
You're the one
speaker
getting the
on
PhD,
disability.
right?
Yes, I'm also a PhD at Chapman University in Orange. I want to say this administration has been the worst in U.S. history for people with disabilities, for people of color, for people LGBTQ, people of transgender, and people who are on Medicaid, people. My question for you is, how can we get people of the other party to realize what is at risk here and be able to support things, investments in our people? What I is myself is the other party. The only thing they want to fund is the military, not our people, not things for our citizens domestically. I got a suggestion for you to balance the cost. Put cuts into deportations, cuts to DOGE, cuts to the people who are into oppression and white nationalism, and instead work to restore diversity, equity, and inclusion for our people, and be able to give our people with disabilities and people who are low socioeconomic status the path from preschool to grad school, and be able to go out in the adult world as a productive member, and to realize that diversity is a good thing for innovation and efficiency. How can we accomplish this?
Well, Stephen, you're living proof of that. You're living proof of that. To have a disability and to be as eloquent and to be doing your PhD shows us what most of us here believe, that every person has God-given talent in this country, that every person is capable of hard work, and that all that diversity, equity, and inclusion means is that we're going to look in every corner to give every person a shot at working hard and fulfilling their potential. That's all that it says. And when you have a situation like you do today, where they are increasing the defense budget, which is 50% of the defense, which is 56% of the federal budget. I'm the only guy on the House Armed Services Committee who voted against the defense budget, and it's going up. It's 56%, and then they're cutting Medicaid and people and funding for disabilities. Our values are not intact. We need to stand up for ordinary people in this country, not the defense contractors.
And I think we ought to put something in every bill you can to restore the DEI provisions and make it so that the president is required to